What's going on? Welcome back to the channel. So today I want to talk to you about SOFI. I want to go over some of the current data points, break it down on what really moved it today, and go over everything else you need to know. But first, make sure you guys hit that thumbs up, and with that, let's get right to it. So SOFI went down 3.35% today, largely with a lot of the other growth stocks in the broader market. 13.23 the low, 13.66 the high. So when it came down to once the market opened, SOFI dropped like a rock. There wasn't really any rhyme or reason to it. I do cover quite a few different stocks, different sectors on multiple different YouTube channels, and there was one common denominator between all the stocks: very low volume. And even this article did come out near the tail end of the day just saying Wall Street is witnessing very low volume. And one thing I did mention over the weekend, this week was more of a reflection week on what potentially might be coming, what has happened as far as data points, tariffs. So institutions clearly are trying to figure out what the next steps are. So I think in reality, whenever you do have low volume, it's very easy for algorithmic trading or just one large entity to kind of move a stock. So unfortunately, that's kind of what happened with SOFI. As far as data points, not a whole lot coming out today. There was a lot of Fed speakers, nothing really of substance. The only thing that kind of came out that killed the momentum a little bit. So SOFI was starting to move up higher alongside a lot of other growth stocks. But right here, we did have this came out. So 𝗪𝗧𝗪𝗧 stagflationary outcome as a likely scenario. So this is exactly not what growth stocks want to hear, or institutions, or anyone. So it's not necessarily the best. So that's what killed the momentum, unfortunately. But aside from that though, SOFI did put out this news. So Galileo launches payment method switch to help banks, fintechs, and brands stay top of wallet through easier bill payments. So I think this is okay. I don't see this as a good reason to go out and buy SOFI nor sell. And I feel like it still wasn't that innovative enough for institutions to really rally behind it. So it was a good kind of FYI type of thing, but like I said, not really a good reason to go out and buy SOFI. When it comes down to shorts, they did return 137,000 shares. How I analyze this, by shorts returning, kind of shows that today's pullback was not really justified, which honestly I do tend to agree with. But 13.65% of the free float is being shorted, works out to be 148.26 million shares overall are being shorted. So my apologies not doing a SOFI video yesterday, but SOFI shorts actually did increase quite a lot yesterday. So kind of interesting for that. Cost to borrow minimum is negative. So it's back at that. It's been, I think, a good 6 or 7 trading days where it was positive. With it being negative, that means that there is brokers out there physically paying people to short SOFI. One thing I just want to bring up though, it is very easy and cheap to short SOFI. So cost to borrow is like pennies. But there is in excess of 10 million shares available to be shorted. So if shorts really wanted to double down, they could. And like I said, it's cheap to do so. So the fact that they did return when they could have easily hit SOFI and many other stocks out there, I see that as relatively optimistic. But then again, that's just me. You do whatever floats your boat and your own due diligence and all the other fun jazz. When it comes to options, 9.06 million in calls, 3.19 in puts. 47% of all the options being done were bearish in nature. Most of that actually was near the tail end of the day. And you can kind of even see just one up right here. So a lot of 1250 puts were purchased, various strike prices or various expiry dates. So May 30th, you have June 20th. These are some of the premiums that were paid. So not necessarily the best. I'm not sure exactly why they institutions, because obviously I don't think retail's throwing around $284,000 per at least 5-minute kind of grouping there. I don't know why they would be bearish all of a sudden, unless maybe they are anticipating some negative point to come out. So let me know your viewpoint on that. Based on the bulls, you do see a consensus for it to be above 14 to 14.50 for the end of this week. And then the bears for it to be sub 13. So what is your viewpoint on that? But moving on from here though, as you can kind of see, these are all the transactions that did occur on the secondary market above $100,000. So a lot of selling, a couple pockets of strings of buys right here, but majority of which during the trading day were sells. So obviously with lower volume, this did impact the stock price quite significantly alongside algorithmic trading. These are all the transactions that did occur on the second dark pool above $100,000. A couple big ones after hours, so most likely that's what really pushed it down a little bit more. So a couple ones right here. So 2 million, 1.19. I'm not really sure again why institutions would be really selling. Unless there was something that was stated that I'm not really aware of. Maybe it didn't hit mainstream media yet. During power hour, there's a $1 million transaction right there, and then that's pretty much it. So with it closing at 13.27, trading now between this S1 and this S2. So 13.12 is going to be a strong support, so just watch for that in the next little bit. Then 13.46 followed by 14.01 is going to be the next strong target / resistance points. No new analyst ratings, no articles really coming out talking about SOFI, so it is just again piggybacking off of the broader market and everything else. Aside from all that fun stuff though, on the actual chart, it did bounce off of now that 100-day moving average, so back at being wedge bound between that 50 and 100. Very wide gap right here, so if things do pull back, you have a very good support level, at least because of 200 and also the 50-day moving average are pretty much tight knit. So one is at 12.20, the other one is at 12.11. So worst comes to where, then you'll definitely have that as a good support level. So just kind of watch for that. But aside from that though, I think just with this whole reflection week, now institutions are waiting for the next big catalyst. And so far from what I've seen, there hasn't been, like, Trump really did tone it down on the, hey, here's a deal coming, here's a deal coming, like really toned it down. So I don't know if the market's taking that as, hey, maybe there isn't any deals coming, or I'm not really sure. So I think just the market's waiting for the next big thing. So let me know your thoughts. What do you think the next big thing is going to be to really push the market? Do you think it's going to be companies unveiling their earnings this week? And if so, is there any that stand out that would be that very, very good catalyst to really move the market higher? Based on from my understanding, I don't think any crazy big companies are unveiling their earnings this week. So I think it's literally going to come down to the Fed speakers, which there's a dozen of them speaking this week, or Trump. That's going to be the make it or break it for this week. So let me know your thoughts on SOFI. Are you buying the dip? Are you selling? What's your general thoughts on SOFI? I myself, as I shared with you, I did do two different options. I did 12 and also 12.50. I did sell puts. So if it does get below that, so I did range it from here and also next week. So if it gets to those kind of prices, then I'll buy more SOFI. But my goal ultimately was just to collect premiums, but again, I'm not against owning SOFI at those prices. So let me know your thoughts. Don't forget to hit that thumbs up. One final thing, pop over to my Patreon to give buy signals on stocks, options, crypto, many of which have been on point and bangers. Definitely worthwhile to pop over there and take a look. With all that said, appreciate all of you watching.